can just stretch it out manually and it's fine. And I was like, thank fuck for that.
Thank fuck for that. And on that note, on that out of context quote, welcome to Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. Treve Index Scythe, and for those of you who don't speak the mother tongue, that's number 17. My name's Gareth Evans. This is Mr. Henry Cooper.
Hola.
Boy.
Gonna be a luchador, Mexican wrestler this time.
Oh, yeah?
Get the mask and everything.
Excellent. That's a plan.
I don't really know any other Spanish words.
Do you know any wrestling moves?
No, but I can tell you, no habla español.
See.
And then they can be like, oh, fabulous, I speak English, probably better than you. There's the toilet. There's a beer.
There you go.
Uno biro.
On that note,
Por favor.
Hello everybody and welcome to the ramblings of our podcast. This week we have got a lot on the agenda. We're going to talk about...
Stop forcing your agenda on people.
Yeah, I apologise. I'm sorry. We're trying to keep it politically correct. We will be talking about, if that's okay with you guys, the Ubisoft Earnings call. We're talking a little bit about A Plague's Tale.
Yep, I've been playing that.
A bit about Rage 2, just a bit. Also, we'll be taking the Discord questions as well as looking at some YouTube comments, if we've got time, obviously. And then, first off, we will be looking or talking about God of War. Because the documentary... raising Kratos or
Kratos,
Kratos, right? Kratos,
yeah, Kratos. That's what they were saying.
Crazy toes, man. You got crazy toes. So Kratos isn't. Kratos isn't right.
Kratos.
We got corrected in the comments. This is what this rambling's all about. We were corrected on our pronunciation, our British pronunciation of Kratos.
I mean, it's Greek anyway.
Hopefully, I'm saying it fucking right now. Hopefully, that meets your fucking approval.
Yeah. That big guy with the beard and the red tattoo, that's who it's all about.
So long as you know who I mean, that's all that fucking matters, right? Anyway, the documentary.
Yeah.
We watched it, and it was so good, we want to talk about it, because God of War, one of the best games of this generation, for sure.
Absolutely.
Game of the year last year, I fully agree with. It was amazing on many different levels.
Yeah.
And this documentary is a 2-hour-long documentary published on the PlayStation YouTube channel, which goes into detail, goes into depth behind the scenes about how it was put together and the journey that the development team and the studio, Sony Santa Monica, right?
Yep, Santa Monica.
They went on in the making of. And we've got a few talking points. I mean... we could discuss like all the finer points, but we'll just pick out a couple of
because it is very long. It's 2 hours long,
and it's well worth it if you are a fan of the God of War game and everything that Corey Barlog and his team did there. You should definitely watch it. Highly recommended. 100% watch it. It's a well put together documentary in the sense that it takes you on the journey as well. It's like a story in itself.
Yeah, it does have a kind of a narrative to it. I like even if you're not that into the game and you just like solid documentaries or the games industry, it's really good insight into behind the scenes and how really quite unpleasant it can be at times, and like how hard it can be.
The hardships is one of the themes, right? Especially early on. Instead of being balanced, it is a little bit veering towards, this is how hard we had it, or the development, or the studio had to lay off people, and then we were the team who were working on God of War remained, because they were working on a game previously had to be cancelled.
They were working on some new IP, and then that got cancelled, so all the teams had to then come together to start this project early, and they weren't ready.
Like 8 months early, before there's 110 people being redistributed to the God of War team. But ahead of time, they weren't ready for them. They didn't have any work for them to do, and it was like, oh shit, what do we do here? So that was, right, okay, first hurdle, we've got to overcome
immediately
this.
On the back foot. But I think that's part of what's informed the success of like how hard that whole thing was and how high the game has gone. Yeah. Like it makes for such a I don't know,
some story, like the X Factor story, isn't it? It's like it's the perfect recipe for getting people on side.
Just a little bit of tragedy and then some real talent to see you through.
Yeah, and not only that, there were moving premises at the same time, which is a bit of a hurdle for them. Another point that they they touched on. Suhei Yoshida, which is the main guy from Sony PlayStation games and stuff, he visited the studio, and there's footage of him there. And I think one of the quotes was who was that Asian producer who was...
I know you mean.
She said there was something in his facial expression that was telling us there's an issue here. That was not good. And I think we have covered it in the past, but his quote from visiting the studio early on and seeing one of the prototype in action was, "I was horrified how bad it was."
Yikes. And that's the big boy at Sony. Yeah. Like, sort your shit out. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, this is not good enough, basically, were his words.
Yeah.
So, among all these hurdles that they had to overcome, these were all part of it. And I think that's about it. And that, I think that's kind of the theme for it, is like all these problems, as well as the struggles personally as well, which they touched on a lot towards the middle and the end, and the sacrifices that to make as well. Even the actors and the producers and everything, like sacrificing time with their families and stuff. This is the overall, the overarching theme to it. Is like, we put so much into this. We've had to sacrifice a lot of our lives. We've gone through all this turbulence and all these troubles on the way, and how it ends up. Everyone knows how it ends up. It gets 93% Metacritic, Game of the Year awards, 100% review ratings across the board, and it tracks the story all the way through.
Because you get to hear from obviously Cory Barlog, the game director, but as well as some lower level team members, like just one animator, not like a lead animator or anything, just this person did this thing. Like, there's a bit of it with one of the guys who did the UI and tabbing through the menus, and there's a bit like where all the higher ups are over his shoulder, like, how does this work, what if I do this, and he's like, okay, this will happen, blah 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 blah. But I really like the bits where they speak to the actors. So they cast the boy who plays Atreus, so that's Kratos' son, Sonny Suljic. I believe that's how you pronounce it.
And if you don't, then you know who we mean, so it doesn't matter. Exactly. You don't have to correct us for our pronunciations, arseholes.
So Atreus, he was cast before Kratos, and you see him because he's got that the daft mocap unitard thing on, and there's a bit where they're painting on his dots.
Is the word unitard politically correct?
Unitard? Why not? Why?
Never mind. Carry on.
I think you're making it politically incorrect by linking those two.
I'm sorry. We're just trying to be. I'm just trying to.
His onesie.
His onesie.
And they're like painting the dots on his face so they can track it. And I think whoever's doing it is like, oh, so what did you do today at school? And he's like, yeah, we just did history. Because obviously he's a kid. He's got like a life to lead, and then he's doing this massive freaking video game.
Yeah. Well, one thing that you observe about him is such an mature child, isn't he?
He's a cool kid. Like, there's a bit where he's like skateboarding, and then like Cory Barlog asks him, "Oh, so you're gonna do this scene? We're gonna jump into Kratos' arms and you do a backflip. Can you do a backflip?" And he's like, "Yeah, I actually can do a backflip." He's like, "Oh, I mean, I was totally kidding, but that's awesome."
And I just liked how, at one point, Cory Barlog was coaching him through one of the scenes where specifically he had to finish off a deer that he was hunting, and it was kind of an emotional moment for Atreus, where it was the first time he's taken a life of any sort, and Cory Barlog says to him, just like, this creature's about to die in his family, just tell him, just coaching him in order to bring out the feelings in the young actor, so that he can harness those to portray Atreus and with that same emotion. I think it's awesome to see that process in action.
And talking to him like maturely, like as an intelligent human being, but still understanding he's a child. Like he's not experienced that much of the world. It's unlikely that he's experienced a loss like this deer dying and the family loss and all that sort of stuff, but explaining it in terms that he will then understand and be able to translate in the performance. And then you see a shot of Cory just like looking in awe. Sorry, tap the mic there. Looking in awe at the footage that
they're
putting together.
Yeah, and he was almost tearful, wasn't he? He was like, yes, that's it. And he's like, he's almost speechless. And so it took a while for them to get Christopher Judge, and this is another one of those. The way that they've spun it is, it was difficult. We were weeks out. We didn't know if we were ever going to get our Kratos. And then
what if we didn't get him?
Yeah, and it's like, it's all in the balance. Just the way they portray the situation. It maybe wasn't as dramatic as they're putting it in the documentary.
You would have found a way.
It makes for a good documentary anyway. Anyway, Christopher Judge comes on board, and they were a natural fit and all. The way that they portray that, and obviously he's a perfect choice for.
He's a
Kratos.
He's a big old guy too. Yeah. Like he fits the frame. Because I think I saw in another interview. I think it was Cory Barlog's GDC talk, which again is pretty long, but watch it if you've got like an hour and a half to kill, because it's really interesting. He says how the old voice for Kratos, which people are obviously more familiar with, he's a much slighter guy, and he moves very gracefully because he's trained to be a dancer. But then this Christopher Judge, he's so much bigger, and you need to have that like physicality and like presence, and kind of just hulk along.
Thicker.
The thick boy. He's a thick boy.
Yeah.
There's a really interesting bit towards the end of the documentary, which I really liked, where Christopher Judge is like, he's tearing up a bit, talking about how his real life experiences with his kids informed this performance, and how it was almost like a love letter or an apology to them for having like missed out on their life and stuff.
And he said earlier that he's got parallels with Kratos because he himself spent the first 10 years of his child's life busy with work and missed a lot of that, the same way that Kratos did with Atreus.
Yeah, like being there but not
able
really,
to spend time. Yeah. And I think that's that's apparent because Shannon, I can't remember
I've got her name written somewhere. Studstill.
She's the studio lead, Cory Barlog's boss, essentially. She was saying the same thing where, she got teary at one moment. We were talking about families and how much sacrifice that they make individually in order to, family-wise and personally, in order to put the work in necessary to make this game awesome. And I think that is one of the things that rung true for me, or that rung the loudest out of the whole documentary, is that how much they've put in and how much they didn't stand for second best, and how much they've committed themselves personally on a personal level as a team in order to achieve what they've done with the game.
Yeah, there's a bit where they're talking about someone they've recently hired to do a specific thing. We don't know what. And he's like, well, we hired this guy to do this. We turned down other people. I don't want him making excuses. I want him to just fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like, everyone is performing at the absolute best. And if they're not, get your arse in gear.
Yeah, and there was another moment where they had this kind of, I think it was filmed specifically for the documentary, this kind of meal that they were all sat around a table and they were all reminiscing about the process of film and development. And one of the, I can't remember his name, one of the guys said, was talking about how if there's anything that's wrong, we deal with it with gloves on a big bat or something. And he says we talk about it and we confront the issue and get through it and get past it and come out the other side, rather than trying to avoid and trying not to hurt people's feelings. That's part of a good relationship, is being able to manage that conflict that you have with personal conflict with other people. So if you're not happy with something, you have to tell them straight and get through that. Okay.
Yeah.
And that it kind of speaks volumes, because the game itself probably is a lot better for that, because you can imagine in situations where something isn't quite right but nobody addresses it because they want to spare people's feelings. It never gets addressed, and it's reflected in the end game, whereas there's very few things that aren't quite right in God of War. It's almost immaculate. Right,
there's a bit where like they're talking about they're in this arena and Cory Barlog's like, are we happy with this? And he's not telling them what's wrong, but he's just like seeing what they feel. And they're like, yeah, well, we can do this, and then there's plenty of space. And then ultimately he goes, all right, well, look, this is just a big empty space. Nothing's going on. Nothing's changing. That's a problem. We need to fix it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, you can feel that it's an uncomfortable conversation, but they're all like, okay, all right, we'll fix it.
Needs to be hard, yeah.
So
there you go. I think What else is there to discuss?
One thing I really liked, because I like scores. I like musical scores in films and games and stuff. And there was a fair few bits with Bear McCreary, which is an awesome name.
Bear.
Or Bear McCreary, it could be. He's saying about how he composed it and he was fiddling around with the melody and it was like 4 or 5 notes, and then he just dropped it right down to the bottom end of the piano, and then you get that roar, 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 like dramatic thing, which I thought was awesome. And how when they did the E3 demo at E3 16, I think, 2016, so Corey Barlog's there playing it live, which is okay, cool. And they had a live orchestra there as well. And I was like, oh, well, that's probably just like for a showpiece or whatever. Well, no, they played live along with him. So there was no in-game music coming through the like PA or whatever. It was the live orchestra.
Yeah.
And there's the bit where Kratos like steps out of the shadows and all the crowd goes like, "Wow, oh my God, it's God of War, it's Kratos." And there's a musical swell there, so that he's conducting the orchestra and he just raises his hands. It kind of makes me think of the Night King in when he brings up dead bodies. Just lifts him up, and there's this huge roar like behind him.
And the orchestra visually kind of jolt, as if to say, "What? Why are people screaming?" And there's like a violinist who's like, "Oh,"
and he's just like, "Yeah, this is awesome."
And this part is almost halfway into the documentary, and leading up to that point, they track the history of God of War and how it changed, and how they've had to kind of reimagine the whole God of War with his personality, and reimagine the whole franchise in order to kind of reboot it, because one of the things is this is our last chance. This we have to make this right, and Corey Barlog's notorious for having self-doubts, and he talks about this a lot, where he doesn't know the direction he's going in. So that whole first half of the documentary that leads up to that E3 presentation is tracking all of this insecurity, for Corey especially, specifically, and there's a lot of weight and a lot of pressure on that E3 presentation. They say they spent a year and a half just on the 10-minute presentation that they had with the orchestra and the gameplay and the reveal. Before they went into the auditorium at E3, nobody knew about the game existed. Nobody knew anything about it, and they even had to cover themselves up and hide themselves going in case anybody clocked them, in order not to spoil the reveal. And at that moment that you discussed there, where Kratos walks out of the shadows and everybody realizes that it's a God of War game, and and there's a huge audible excitement from the crowd, and that's when you're saying there's this swell in the music, and everybody goes crazy. And that's the moment that they edit it very well, where they've got loads of YouTubers, a montage of YouTubers reacting to, "Oh my God, this is great!" You can imagine the type of thing that happens. And that whole moment's almost spine-tingling. It's kind of that validation of the years of work that they've put in, thinking of the doubt whether this is going to work, whether it's going to be good enough for the lovers of the franchise or whatever. But that moment, it just sticks with you as if like, right, we've achieved it, we've got the result that we needed, if not better than we could have ever imagined.
Like that's the moment when they think, okay, people are backing us, they're in for whatever, in this version of the character and the story, now we just need to do it. We just have to execute what we already knew was going to be good. Now we've got their backing.
I think that the whole weight and the whole pressure around that E3 scenario for the studio is quite insightful for me, because I think that had they have not gotten that reveal right, and had it have not been received so well, maybe the game wouldn't have done so well. Maybe people wouldn't have been anticipating it as much. Like that whole effort that they put into that E3 reveal probably spurred them on to the greatness that they achieved in the end. And I think that maybe some reveal games, there's a reason why it's rated among one of the best games ever. And it's not just because it was a great game, it's because of the way that people feel about it, right? And this E3 presentation, a reveal, is part of that. And I think that if more games pay attention to those tiny details, and studios try and build the hype in kind of that subtle way that they did with Santa Monica, maybe their games would be received a little bit better. That's just my thoughts on the situation.
Like I reckon if they didn't have that confidence from the audience and fans and stuff, they wouldn't have produced something quite anywhere near as good, because they had to delay it. It was originally supposed to come out in like March 13th, and they delayed it by about like 5 weeks until April the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's been bigger delays than that before, but immediately, if they didn't have that backing from fans and the like talk about it on YouTube and the internet and stuff, I doubt Sony would have been as keen to give them that extra leeway.
Sure.
And there's a point where they say Sony Santa Monica are doing a presentation to the staff. It's like, okay, we should be here with like, this is our target, but we've got this many bugs that we need to sort out. We need to do this.
Literally hundreds of bugs, and there's a part dedicated to that where they're just about to go gold, but they need to squash all these bugs and get them out in time. I think that was maybe like the third delay. I think it was originally like January, then February, then April, and then whatever. But it just goes to show. I mean, it was a very tense towards the end, and you can tell by the way that Corey Barlog was conducting interviews and just the whole setup that everyone was pretty stressed at the office. Obviously, they were crunching, and it's interesting that this is one of the studios that's kind of flown under the radar in terms of this recent backlash against studios that are crunching a lot, because we've seen that more recently. Rockstar with a catalyst for that with Red Dead Redemption 2, and then we've seen Mortal Kombat more recently, as well as others who have been outed for the crunch culture. But it would have been interesting to see whether Sony Santa Monica could fall into that category as well.
Yeah, because the crunch culture thing gets really bad when it's not just people being overworked, it's like the forced overtime, no extra pay, none of that. And obviously, because God of War came out before the talk around that was so big, we don't know if that was the case with God of War, because people obviously working their asses off, but they could have been rewarded for that extra work, like getting paid overtime like they should, or like working weekends or whatever.
And often with crunch, it's like, if you're a game developer, you could work your 8 hours and go home, but you couldn't do that, because otherwise there's kind of a pressure and an expectation upon you to do more work than you're contracted to in order to get the game out, because everyone's in the same boat, and you're fucking up all your...
you don't want to be that guy.
When everyone would frown upon you, and you'd maybe get marked down for it, and for whatever reason. So I mean, we will never know to what extent the crunch was bad. Maybe we will know, but I bet no. But there is always a question mark over there. But that's more of a negative note. So I'm feeling like I've expended all my talking points.
Well, just a quick one. One thing that I thought was quite funny is there's a moment where they're playtesting it with outside parties, like people who haven't had their hands on the game, and several of them are like, just not like crushingly negative, but they're just like, one guy, he's like, this isn't God of War. God of War, you use big hammers and you smash stuff, and that's what I want to be, because he's angry and it's like power. And then someone else was like saying how the boy,
he's so overpowered, so OP.
He's overpowered, and it's like it's so cheating. It's like, I feel a bit cheap. That's like, wow.
Thank God they didn't listen to those, though.
Right?
Fucking hell.
That must have been
where are you getting these playtesters from?
Right.
It's like they're critiquing the creative decisions rather than critiquing the actual gameplay. I think that was the
mechanic. There's one girl in it who,
like, you shouldn't have that little lad, Dick. That little lad needs to fuck off. It's part of the fucking story, man.
Literally, There's one girl though who they even point out, and she's like, this girl's just got like a constant smile. So she's either like really happy, or that's just her neutral face, just like, I'm having good. This is my life.
Yeah, it's funny.
You get paid to do it as well. You get paid to playtest stuff.
It was pretty insightful. It really is a fantastic documentary. Definitely check it out for sure, God of War fans. And let us move on to our next topic of conversation. So, A Plague Tale.
A Plague Tale: Innocence, which, despite being a bad name, it is a good game.
Yeah.
So I feel like it should be called A Plague Tale, full stop.
A Plague Tale.
Or An Innocence Tale.
Yeah.
Because get one of those words in and you're fine.
Tale of Innocence.
Yeah, A Tale of Innocence would work fine. I really enjoyed it. But it's It's definitely not perfect. So if you don't know, it's this.
So we reviewed, just outline for those of you who haven't watched yet. Henry made a review, published it on Wednesday this week. So if you haven't checked that on the channel, go and check it out.
Watch it.
It's a pretty good review.
I mean, so it's like a high-end indie game in terms of like budget and scope and stuff. Like visually, it's great. Graphics awesome, and there's definitely a lot of care in that regard, but it's certainly not like a AAA thing. The closest equations I have in terms of like scale and presentation will be a vampire or vampire. I have no idea how you say it. They throw in a Y, completely confuses me. I change my mind on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I go with the vampire.
Yeah, so. It sounds better. And then Hellblade, both like awesome games.
Middle tier games with that same kind of scope to it.
Yeah, they've got like an indie feel in terms of like heart and like craft and stuff, but they're not super, high budget with crazy mechanics and cutscenes and explosions and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So my biggest my biggest kind of negatives about it all hinge around the gameplay, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like I thought visually it was awesome, not just in like graphical fidelity and how realistic it looks, but I really like the style. It's really gritty and grim and dark, but also very like bright and uplifting at times, because they walk that line really nicely. So you'll be walking through a field, rats everywhere, baddies everywhere, it's horrible, but then when you escape, like the sun will just peek over and everything's beautifully illuminated and so peaceful, and it's that really nice juxtaposition. The lighting altogether is incredible.
Yeah,
because that's like a mechanic is using fire to avoid plague rats, because otherwise they eat you. It's just such a shame that the gameplay's kind of meh. Like it's not like bad, but
I mean, in its defense, it's a game. I'm just to be what's the word when you're
impartial.
Just to balance out the views, the opinions. It's about innocence. That's the theme. It's supposed to be you're hiding from people. You're trying to get out of it and remain innocent on the journey, right? But you do have to sometimes. You got the choice whether to kill people, hurt people, whatever, just to get through, just to get where you want to go. And I think that it kind of thematically fits well. Yeah. If you were all out, stabbing, killing people and things like that, then it probably wouldn't fit so well. Also, there is a progression. Your abilities do unlock as you go through.
You get new stuff. And that does.
So that gives you a little bit more gameplay to unlock, and it kind of drip feeds you the mechanics.
There's a particular. I think it was around mission 9 or 10, 8, 9 or 10, somewhere around there. There's about 17 missions, which is an odd number for starters. Around then you've got plenty of items by then, and it opens up a little bit more. It's not like massively open, and that is one of my bigger critiques of it. But then, because you've got more gadgets, you can be like, okay, I can throw a rock there to distract him. I can throw a rock straight at him and kill him because he's not wearing a helmet. Or I can lure the rats over there, can kill that light. So that's when it gets way more interesting. But I love stealth games, so when it's not quite right, it really bugs me.
Right.
And the AI is very simple. And for other games like, let's take Alien Isolation, which is really, really good stealth horror game. That's really part of the reason that's so good is because you can't fight back. And so that's obviously a more passive hiding experience.
Yeah.
People take the piss and say
Coward Simulator.
Yeah, Coward Simulator or Hide and Seek, the video game. And that sort of less aggressive approach works really well, but here it's not as fulfilling, or there's something just not quite right. But I think part of it is because of the enemy AI. They're very simple to manipulate, but again, that's because it's a lower budget thing that you can't afford to.
I think when it comes to these indie experiences, there has to be concessions somewhere. And we talked in the past about Hellblade and how Hellblade, it doesn't have a lot of varied combat mechanics in it. It's described as a walking simulator because it takes you on this linear narrative where you do combat to a certain extent, but it's not in any great depth. There's puzzles in the environment and things like that. But other than that, obviously, if they had a big budget and they were able to implement better mechanics or more combat, more enemies, whatever you could associate with a bigger budget game, then that is what you'd get for your money. But with a Plague Tale, it's the same kind of thing. There has to be concessions somewhere, and obviously they've made a beautiful world. They've made a beautiful looking game.
Easily one of the best looking indie games I've ever seen. There's one bit like near the beginning, you escape from your house, and then you jump in a river, and then the next time you see them, her like shirt is sticking to her skin. You know when you wear like a white shirt and it gets wet, it sticks. And I don't think I've seen that anywhere before. Yeah. The way it just behaves differently. So even little details like that I thought were really cool. Yeah. And I think that's a good decision to make as an independent studio, because a good looking game will sell a lot better than like a really pixel graphic looking game. You know what I mean? Yeah. In terms of where your choices are in indie development, I think if you make a game that looks good, you'll always get those extra sales where people are eyes lighting up because it looks like a good game. So I mean, the question then is the price. Like you said that it probably isn't worth it for the 40. Yeah, if it was the industry standard price, so let's say 45 to 50 quid or $60, let's say, I probably wouldn't say so, but mainly because gameplay wise it left me personally like wanting more out of it, more depth and complexity. But because the story's great, and the story's not crazy grand or anything or super complicated, but it's very personal, and it's about you and your little brother trying to protect each other. You meet a few other characters along the way who help you out, but the core is it's about them, and their relationship is so like believable, because there's points where she gets annoyed at him because he's making too much noise, or he's being a child, and he's
misbehaving.
Like, he's like crying and stuff.
Crying. Gosh,
he's
how dare you cry?
And then he gets annoyed because she's being bossy, and he's like the whole kind of "you're not my mum" kind of attitude.
Like a genuine relationship.
Yeah, and it feels
authentic,
real. Like I've got an older sister. She's nowhere near as nice as
Does she make you cry?
Amicia. She has done many times. There was a period,
poor Henry,
religiously, where she used to kick me in the dick. So
what a bitch.
I might be infertile. I don't know yet. I've not had a child yet, but God, if I start trying, there'll be hell to pay.
Yeah, if it's your sister's fault.
Yeah.
Weird.
But it seems like a real genuine relationship, and one of my real positive feelings about it is the voice acting's really good. Yeah. And they all speak in French accents in the English version, which is always a nice addition. I saw someone complaining about it in one of the comments, like, why are they speaking English in French accents, or they should just speak their natural accent or speak in French. I'm like, well, you can switch it to French, which is actually better. Yeah. Like, I flip-flopped, because there are times where I'm like, I can't be bothered to just sit and read subtitles because I'm lazy. But other times I'm like, oh no, it's a layer of immersion, because they feel really like the characters and the performances are better. And I think the English and French voice actors are the same, just doing it in either language. But I can't confirm that. I'm not entirely sure. But hearing them in French, it sounds a little odd at first, because no one really speaks in a French accent in video games. But I think it's nice. It makes it feel more authentic. And they're not like stereotyped at all. It's not, oh, hello.
Oui, oui, oui.
Yes, I got this cigarette and they frog's legs. It's none of that nonsense. And so I'm going to say this. When I originally uploaded my review, there was a really easy but excellent Monty Python meme where in Monty Python the Holy Grail, having a go at the French guy top of the tower, I fart in your general direction. That one, great movie, hilarious, everyone loves it. Soon as that's uploaded, copyright flagged for a 10-second clip, less than 10-second clip of that, and I'm just like,
really?
I'm not appealing this. I'll just delete that bit, upload a new one. God, that really wound me up. But I really enjoyed the game. Really been enjoying it.
There you go. A lot of people enjoyed your review, and people are saying that they're going to pick it up based on that, which is awesome. We would like to hear
definitely worth
some feedback from you guys about our content. On that note, this concludes A Plague Tale chat.
Yeah. What's up next?
I can discuss a little bit about Rage 2. I said to you in the office, I said, if I pick up Rage 2, I'm not going to finish Days Gone because I'll put it down, I'll pick up Rage 2, and then I'll never get around to Days Gone again. So I was
still not finished it either.
I'm not buying Rage 2, but then I was like, well,
first-person shooter.
It's 40 quid.
It's right in your wheelhouse.
40 quid and Steam. It's a first-person shooter. I haven't played a first-person shooter for a while. And I was like, I had decided I was going to buy this before. That's the reason I didn't play Far Cry New Dawn, because I wanted to first-person shooter. So I was like, yeah, it's 40 quid.
Yeah, why not?
Do it for 40 quid. My job is playing games, essentially, and knowing about games. So I was like,
I feel like that really didn't take much convincing, though. It was spotting it on Steam and like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, there was a deliberation process. Didn't last long, but I bought it. And yeah, I picked it up. I played it for a couple of hours. This is the huge disclaimer. My opinions are based on the first 2 hours of gameplay of this game. And I am very... I don't know. I almost refunded it. If I hadn't refunded my previous game on Steam, I would have refunded this one. Because I'm still just under 2 hours. And the previous game I bought was the new Roman Imperator, the Crusader Kings thing from Paradox. I bought that a few hours. It was buggy. I was like, shit, I'm refunding this. Yeah. So had I have not done that, then I would have refunded Rage 2. And the reason, because I've just played Days Gone. And yes, it's an open world, and the reviews are saying that the world isn't great, the characters aren't great, the missions seem like empty. You just walk up to a place, and there's one of the earliest missions or encounters where I'm just driving through, and there's this big kind of robot mechanical turret thing, and it activates when you go near, and it shoots at you. There's no other enemies around. You've got to kill it, explode it, and it's pretty tough. And once you do that, you get rewards around it, and it just seems like, well, this is just a random turret in the middle of nowhere with no reason for it to be there. It doesn't feel like satisfying gameplay, just hiding behind a building and just like dodging, shooting it, and then dodging it before it like lasers you or whatever. It felt a bit bland. It's like there's no reason for this encounter, and there's no exposition tied to it. There's nothing. It's just there just to engage you, I guess. And that was my first kind of, well, this is pretty boring. I mean, I got to one of the hub areas where you do your trading, and you're one of the main hub areas where there's a lot of characters to talk to and get side missions and stuff like that. And it really hits home how basic the like facial animations are, and how when you're talking to somebody, they're just like they're talking at you, and you could walk like either side of them, and they're just standing there still, and it just feels like, well, is this supposed to be a AAA game? I've just played Days Gone. Yeah, I've just played Days Gone, and every one of them. The characters and that you do talk to is like, hey, how's it going, Deke? And then
a lot of them kind of flirt with you as well, which I was noticing. They're like, oh, get back here soon, we miss you, and all that shit. Yeah.
And it feels like there's no connection with the protagonist. It feels like this world is just there as a computer game world, and you're just like weaving your way through it rather than any sort of connection that you've got with it. That's how it feels. Anyway, like I said, I'm just 2 hours in. Although there is cutscenes in it, and it's a huge kind of goofy story, and it's very cliched. It's very cliched story, and it's very well presented in a way. All those cutscenes and how the story. It's a bit goofy, and it's a bit childish, and it's a little bit too light for my liking. I like a gritty game with like real consequences. Like, it just feels a little bit too kind of fun.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
So all the trailers made it seem like it's quite like self-aware, like it knows it's being so.
Totally,
so is that the case?
Totally, yeah, that is the case. But that's just a personal preference thing, and I get where they're going with it, and I'm not criticizing that in any way. I'm just saying I would prefer it if it was a little less. But it's an arcadey type shooter where it's supposed to be fun, and a character's mum dies and she's blowing it off, and it's just like, oh well, let's get on with the mission. We've got a job to do. It's like, okay, is that
moving on?
So I did a few missions. The combat itself was all right. One of my biggest gripes with it is the amount of times you just, in the middle of doing something, it pauses and then a tutorial prompt comes on the screen and it's like, just fucking stop. Yeah. You don't need to pause it for this. Put a little thing on the bottom to ask me if I want to read more. I can go into the menu or something to read more. Or just alert me of something. Just don't make me read about something. You could even have somebody saying it, like, this is how you do this, and this is what these are for, rather than stopping. Because in the very first scene, like, there's a big battle going on, you're taking on monsters, and then you just, I've just got a grenade. I'm just about to hit the grenade button, and it's like, this is what grenades do. These is what
As if you've never played a first-person shooter before.
And it's like, fucking hell, it must be at least maybe between a dozen and 2 dozen pauses in the middle of action. I'm like, for fuck's sake, I'm not a child, man.
Stop babying
me.
I
guess I could turn it off, but when will I get that information?
Yeah, what if there's a tutorial you actually need? That's always my worry on disabling tutorials, especially like when you first run through. I'm like, what if I forget?
I'm sure when I get deeper into the gameplay and allow the mechanics of the game and the shooting and some of the progression to have its bearing on me, I'm sure I will begin to enjoy it, but I'm not expecting too much from the world, not expecting too much from the characters or the story. I'm just gonna play it for the action shooting gameplay. I think that's the way to approach it based on my first 2 hours. That's what, and in terms of what to expect from the game, I mean, you can see, I think if you liked Doom gameplay, and I think this is the problem for me, I didn't really like Doom that much. The most recent Doom from it, and everyone says, it's one of the best shooters and this and that, but it's the same kind of thing where you're like, you're invulnerable pretty much. You're just like a huge raging force blasting your way through all these enemies, and they can't even touch you, and it feels kind of like that. You need to be moving really quickly and shooting, and that's kind of like I feel it's more like a scatter approach to first person shooters, whereas I'm a more precision.
You like sniping in first person shooters.
I like to align my shots and get headshots, like one bullet, one kill. Not just like pump people full of loads of bullets moving quickly. Cover, be tactical about it, pop the heads and move on. That kind of gameplay is my preference in first person shooter, and that's why Doom didn't kind of appeal to me, and I think that's why if you like Doom, you will like the Rage gameplay, 100%.
I quite fancied Rage because I really enjoyed 2016's Doom.
Yeah, you definitely will like it. You definitely will like it because it feels exactly the same.
Yeah.
In terms of traversal, movement, shooting, combat, everything, it feels really the same. So that's what, based on my first 2 hours impression, which mean fuck all to a lot of you anyway. But my feelings do matter, guys. My feelings really do matter. So that's our very, very early look at Rage 2. More impressions to come, maybe. Hopefully you get a chance to play it too.
I've got to finish Days Gone first, but then luckily there's a bit of a lull in releases for a while now, so I can catch up on some old stuff.
Maybe we can do some content based on later impressions on Rage 2. And the very last thing that we've arranged to talk about on the script is Ubisoft, right? So Ubisoft had the earnings call recently, and there's a few things come out of this earnings call based on their plans for the future, how they've performed last year, and we're going to discuss it. So first off, the second straight year, the company had posted record sales figures. So we've talked a lot about a lot of companies having to lay off people in the industry, a lot of downturn in terms of economics for these companies, but Ubisoft seems to be riding it pretty well.
Yeah, companies, I'm pretty sure EA were at a loss recently.
Yeah.
Activision, presumably they were, because they had to sack a load of people.
Exactly.
But
they didn't quite meet their expectations, but they still made a profit of $112 million. Which, if you're not hitting your expectations and still make that much money, profit, then you're doing something right. Up 17% year over year net bookings. So total net bookings 2.26 billion. Fuck me.
And I think Ubisoft, I briefly glimpsed over a thing a little while ago on, I think, Games Industry Biz. Ubisoft are meant to be quite nice to work with. Like, as a company, they're quite just a good work environment, no toxicity, no crunch or anything like that. It's quite accommodating.
There were reports in the past, maybe 5 years ago, around that time, where Ubisoft wasn't a great place to work. Now, maybe some of that exposure of those conditions has changed how Ubisoft approach their workforce and things like that. Maybe that is a knock-on effect of that being reported. And one of the failures, apparently, according to the earnings call of Ubisoft in the last year, was The Division 2, which is surprising because the game is received really well, and for all we know, it's sold really well, but apparently not. It did not meet Ubisoft's commercial expectations on the PS4 and Xbox One, so consoles specifically here, right? Although the PC sales were on par with The Division 1, so that's good.
Yeah.
The PC sales are exactly the same as the previous one, and that's really, really encouraging considering this is a sequel. So the Ubisoft chief financial boss, Frederick Duguay says, quote, "The Division 2 ended up short of our ambitious expectations on console. We believe this was due in large part to more competitive market than we expected."
So at least he acknowledges that they were ambitious to begin with. So like they set their expectations deliberately high.
Yeah, sure. We failed because we
thought we'd do better than we did.
Our imagination was just too good. But they blamed it on the release schedule, other competition in the market, and I believe that the market is more competitive than it has ever been.
I definitely think that's valid.
With the fact that Anthem was released a few weeks before.
Yeah. That's definitely going to have an effect.
And at the same time, although it's not the same genre of game, we had Devil May Cry.
Yeah. And Sekiro.
Sekiro was out. So there's a lot of choice in terms of what game you want to play around that time. So maybe he's right there. Although The Division 2, a large focus of the development is on the post-game content. And they're talking about the end-game raids, which is coming out very soon. Yeah,
the nature of the game that it is that you stick with it over time, right?
And one of the more interesting facts to emerge was that Uplay sales, which is the PC store, Ubisoft's PC store, they were 10 times that of the original. They sold 10 times more copies on the Division 2 on Uplay than they did on the Division 1. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. First off, that obviously it brings loads more customers to their Uplay launcher, which is great. Great for them because they don't have to pay the fees to like a marketplace like Steam or anything.
100% of the money goes to them.
Yeah, exactly. And another point was that they didn't actually release this on Steam. They kind of had an although it's not exclusive if it's on a different platform as well, but they went with the Epic Store instead of Steam. So the Epic Store sales, they would have got like a 12% fee on that, but they get to keep like 88%. So of the same amount of sales that they had between Division 1 and Division 2 on PC, they must have made a lot more money this time around because they're not paying the 30% cut on Steam, which is a result for them.
That's amazing. Like, you can't say it's Epic exclusivity, but it is anti-Steam.
Sure. So there you go. That was the notable thing there. So it seems like that strategy kind of worked well for them in terms of not going onto Steam.
Yeah.
Maybe they'd have sold more on Steam, but also they'd have paid more of a cut out of Steam. So,
and then because if it is on Steam, people will more than likely get it on Steam. If they even if you have Uplay and Steam, it's more likely that people will get it on Steam because then it's with everything else. And people are more favourable to Uplay than they are the Epic Store.
Well, that's the thing. I think that this backlash against Epic Store might have favoured them because it's like they seem like the worst of the bad bunch now, in terms of like nobody wanted Uplay beforehand, but now Epic have come in and taken all those negative headlines and bad press about how grievous they've been with it and how bad they've been. They're like, everyone hates Epic Store to so much of an extent now that Uplay seems like a decent alternative.
Yeah, right.
Whereas previously they would have fucking hated it.
I really want to play it, but I'm definitely not playing it on the shitty Epic Store. Yeah. I'll get the less shit one.
Fuck you, Epic Store. I go on Uplay, and so Ubisoft are rubbing their hands together.
Ubisoft are the real winners here, no matter what. It has worked out well for them.
There you go. Another game that they talked about, another notable bit of info was Skull and Bones, which is their multiplayer pirate simulator thing.
Yeah,
has taken a delay. And on Twitter they announced, we're going to batten down the hatches. Har, har.
Good one.
And push
batten down the hatches.
And push back on the game's arrival. This is a challenging news for us all. Bit lost in translation there, maybe. A challenging news. But it's what's needed to make Skull and Bones as awesome as it can be. So they've pushed it back to beyond fiscal 1920, which means it will come sometime after March the 31st, 2020.
And this game was announced
3 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say
2 or 3 years
a decent
ago,
amount of time
so
ago.
long ago. We've seen very little from it. We've seen, I think reporters had a hands-on time with it at E3 when they announced it back in 2017, I think it was. But there you go. So also notable for that game, it lost its creative director, Justin Farron, late last year, of which Jason Schreier commented, if and when we next see Skull and Bones, it will likely be very different because of the loss of the creative direction, which is interesting. I was kind of put off by Skull and Bones because it's like, it's a multiplayer, it's a game as a service. It's like, they take a decent concept and they push it all into this multiplayer arena where it's like a battle arena and you're playing with your friends, and it's like you can't just enjoy this game for what it is. Apparently there is a single player mode, but I think the quote was that it won't be separate from the multiplayer mode. Like you can play single player, there's a campaign, but it's entwined in the multiplayer thing. It'll probably be like Ubisoft way.
You can play it on your own, but it's going to be shit because you're supposed to play with other people.
Yeah.
The thing is, with Skull and Bones, pirate game, it's Ubisoft. You've already got all the tech from Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Just take that and make a new story. It's such a no-brainer.
It's so easy, Ubisoft. How can you fuck it up? I don't know. The creative director leaving does raise questions like, what is going on?
I think this might be a pivot further towards multiplayer, because this is purely an assumption, but Mr. Justin Farron, he might have been trying to keep it single player, but Ubisoft maybe were keen to go multiplayer, so maybe whoever comes in now will be in with Ubisoft's vision rather than this guy's vision.
Wild speculation there by Henry.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's loads of things that Justin Farron wasn't happy with. I don't know. I'm guessing maybe he got a better offer. I mean, maybe he got a better offer from EA, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so that is it in terms of what's happening with Skull and Bones. And in terms of the future for Ubisoft, what have they got releasing? Well, obviously, we recently heard about Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which is launching on October the 4th. And they also announced that they have 3 unannounced games that will launch before March the 31st, 2020 in this fiscal year. So what else do they have? They've got Beyond Good and Evil. That's an unannounced release date for that, so that's coming whenever in the future. Let's forget about that. So what could these 3 unannounced games be? Let's look at their back catalog, the IPs that they work on, right? Watch Dogs 3 is almost a favourite at this point.
Is it confirmed that it was London, or is it just a leak? Because it leaked first, but I can't remember if it's actually confirmed yet. But either way, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Watch Dogs London is the bookie's favourite, you could say. Watch Dogs 3 in London. The previous Watch Dogs launched November 2016. So if this does come in March, or the late part of March 2020, that's 2 and a bit years, almost 3.
And generally, didn't people much prefer number 2 over the first one? Because the first one had all severe downgrade and all that, and just a bunch of problems. And then the second one came out. No one really cared, but the people who did play it liked it way more.
So it was.
Hopefully, they can get something really good with number 3.
So with that one's almost a favourite, right? So we've got 2 other games. Could it be Assassin's Creed? Could it be a Splinter Cell even? Or a Far Cry? Now, looking at it, Far Cry 5 was released in March 2018, so it would... Was it 2018? No. So that would make it 2 years, right? So 2 years in between main Far Cries. However, Far Cry New Dawn has been out recently, and that was in February. So if they do release another Far Cry before March next year, it'll probably be too much, if you ask me. I think that's out of the window, because pushing too many of the same games, like, I know Ubisoft do that, that's what they do, one every year, but
they're going to saturate their own market like by themselves.
Far Cry fatigue.
Far Cry fatigue. The Splinter Cell one is definitely interesting, because a Ubisoft creative director sort of half announced that it was coming. He put up a tweet saying, working on the next Splinter Cell with @Dan Haynow, blah, 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 a few other things. And it was just kind of like...
That was the way that he announced it. What? He's in some sort of social occasion. He's like, let's take a selfie and announce the game.
Cell. It's almost like, wait, you guys, you didn't know? No, we fucking didn't. You haven't told anyone that there's a Splinter Cell.
Yeah, it's one of the best ways to announce, or worst ways to announce a game if you're Ubisoft, I guess.
Ubisoft have kind of had a quick heel turn and been like, no, he's joking.
Have they?
Yeah, they've been like, it's all no.
Ubisoft are so bad at keeping secrets, man. Remember when like Assassin's Creed
Every Assassin's Creed leaks
Origins leaked by a bloody keychain or something, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was Odyssey was a helmet. It was a Spartan helmet. Yeah, that was it.
Oh god. And I think the other speculation is the next Assassin's Creed. It might be a next Assassin's Creed game because there were rumors and reports that the next Assassin's Creed game will be set during the Viking age because there's loads of Viking posters in Division 2 and they like to add Easter eggs into the games. They like to kind of leave little clues in there.
Yeah, Ubisoft, there's all like fan theories and stuff saying they all take place in the same universe. Like in Watch Dogs, I think they name drop someone who's in Assassin's Creed 4. I can't really remember.
Yeah. So those are the kind of favourites. I would say Far Cry, no. Not really, but Assassin's Creed, Splinter Cell, and Watch Dogs 3.
Yeah. I reckon we'll probably get Watch Dogs 3 reveal and release date. Probably not a release date for Assassin's Creed yet, because I think they might take a bit more time. At least I hope they do.
You're talking E3?
Yeah, for an E3 type thing, which is what, next month?
Yeah.
Not long at all now.
Less than 4 weeks now.
It's crazy. Splinter Cell, that bloody tweet, that's not just bullshit. He's definitely on it.
My money's on Watch Dogs 3, Splinter Cell, and a new IP. I wouldn't say they've got two open world games coming out, like Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed in the same period, in the same window. It might be open world fatigue syndrome.
That's what I mean. So maybe they'll give us like a teaser, not a proper trailer, but something Assassin's Creed, but to release the following year, because normally they're out in like October, November, and Odyssey was from last year, right? So they might do it October, November 2020 rather than this year.
Yeah.
So, but who knows?
There you go. Let us know what you think Ubisoft are up to down in the comments. It's probably going to be a service type game because that's what they do now, isn't it?
You can never trust the French. After I've praised A Plague Tale.
What happened to us being PC, Henry? You just thrown that out of the French windows, haven't you?
I fought in your general direction. Oh, wait, now we're going to get fucking claimed again. I said it twice. Jesus.
So that concludes our discussion part of the podcast for today. We're going to move on to the Discord questions. Ooh. So the questions on the Discord come to us from our Patreons. And if you are inclined to support us generating content, you head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming and you can check out what rewards are on offer for you becoming a patron and becoming an official supporter of the channel. And if you do, you get access to the Patreon Discord and you can post questions to us on the podcast every week, as well as get access to our awesome Bad Dad Jokes channel on the Discord, as well as a number of other awesome rewards that you can go and check out and see if you're interested in. So please go and do that. Who have we got first this week, Henry?
Up first, we got a couple from the same person, and I will pronounce this wrong. Moero Engetsu. That one. If you could get one old school arcade machine for the Pretty Good Gaming office, what would it be and why? Now, I was never a massive arcade visitor. I went a bit, but I was never crazy. Yeah. But one I really enjoyed, and I'm terrible, which is really weird because I'm really bad at this kind of game. I'd love a Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So I loved that game.
Yeah.
The art style and everything about it was just it was great.
Like Street Fighter 2. Something. Yeah. That'd be Street Fighter 2.
Marvel vs. Capcom is the one because I want to take Ryu's face and mash it up with Wolverine's claws. That's what. Because you got the character swapping.
We could do that
and stuff.
I've got a better option, right? How about something like Double Dragon? that was a good game.
Which one was
Double Dragon, man? Well, you get to ride these like things, and you get 3 characters to choose from at the start, and it's like a side-scrolling beat 'em up thing from a classic.
Streets of Rage would be good.
Streets of Rage, that kind of game it is. Yeah, so Streets of Rage would be good. Or Double Dragon.
I've never played it, but always wanted to. It's like it's like all cartoony, and you've got to like rescue a princess or something. It's like a medieval fantasy thing, and you've got like 3 buttons and they're just arrows, and you go to the right and you've got to get the treasure. I can't remember what it is. Yeah. They're playing it in Stranger Things, and it's meant to be really, really hard. In Stranger Things Series 2. Yeah. I can't remember what it's called. Let me know in the comments, you'll know. And I really want to play it because I've never played it.
And my other suggestions would be Mad Dog McCree, where you like do the shooting. That's pretty cool. That's a good one. As well as the original Star Wars arcade game where you're doing the
Star Wars pod racer with the things. I'd love that.
No, it's not a pod racer.
No, that's the one I want. The pod racer one.
And the other choice was Paperboy. Who remembers Paperboy? You've got like the bike controls. Oh, so good. And all you're doing is like riding up like diagonally and delivering papers, trying to avoid the dogs and all that sort of shit. But it was awesome. And for those of you who are OG arcade, although I might not be the original OG arcade participant, but I was somewhere back there back in the late 80s. Anyway, I was definitely playing too many games back in the late 80s. So yeah. Any of those would do.
Yeah, I think. Well, so this next one kind of links into that one because it's along the arcade theme as well. If you could get a modern make of one light gun shooting game like Time Crisis, Point Blank, or Resident Evil Dead Aim, which series would you choose? I'd love a House of the Dead.
Yeah,
because I play a decent amount of House of the Dead. But if we're doing it like proper, like high-end AAA, I'd love to be able to like with the light gun, be able to like cock it and reload it and do the stuff with it.
Yeah, like, proper like chunky.
Yeah, so like reloading would be. You could incorporate like VR and stuff into it too. So you pull your magazine out, you have to get another one, put it in, cock it, and you could like adjust the sights on there and stuff. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
House of the Dead would be my one.
That is a good answer. I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah,
I won't twist. I'll stick with that.
Keep the terrible voice acting as well.
Yeah,
it was so bad.
Next up, Metal Shark. Again, thank you again this week, dude, for your awesome. We've got how many questions we got? Well, let's get through them. Feel free to pick and choose again. Cracking answers last week. Cheers. First up this week, if you had one rule or suggestion each for the team developing Skull and Bones to ensure it doesn't fail where other pirate games subjectively have, what would they be? So suggestions to make Skull and Bones not fail.
Mine said it earlier, no brainer. Take all the tech from Assassin's Creed Black Flag, stick it here, and then you're done. Yeah. Then just hire writers. All you need is writers then. And just write a solid story.
Just don't make it a game as a service, man. I mean, come on. You've got enough of them, you greedy corporation. You made $100 million last year.
Thing is, what's the other one? The other pirate game? Xbox One. It's a game as a service pirate game. I can't remember what it's called. Sea of Thieves.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's already there. Games as a service pirate game. You've already got one.
Yeah. That's it.
Like,
but I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, fucking just stop making games as a service, innit? Just make a decent single player campaign, and we'll all be about that. Just let us be like a pirate of the Caribbean. Just going from port to port and just being a fucking kick-ass pirate.
A Red Dead Redemption 2 style pirate game.
Yeah,
like with that level of historical detail and stuff.
Yeah, more freedom though.
Yeah.
More sandboxy. But like Sid Meier's Pirates was the fucking best pirate game ever. Tell me I'm wrong.
What's the one
I'll call you a liar.
Guybrush. Monkey Island.
Monkey Island.
Monkey Island. I've never played a Monkey Island, but I'd love it. It's
fucking classic.
I love those like animated games. It's not like pixel art or 3D or anything. It's proper cartoony animated in games. I think it's awesome. Okay, next one. I had to really think about this one when I first read it. What is the oldest unplayed game still installed on on a device you own, and do you still truly believe you'll get round to playing it? I downloaded The Witcher 2 on my Xbox 360 years ago because it came out as the game with gold. Started it, loved it, ended up moving on to something else. My Xbox is now broken, and won't turn on, and the disk drive I had to rip open to be able to get the disk out. Hard drive's fine, so I just need a new one.
Just stick the hard drive.
A new, actual Xbox, and I'll be golden, because I'm craving playing some of my old Xbox games. So that's probably the one, is The Witcher 2.
I don't have any. I turn them around too quickly. I don't have an oldest unplayed game. I don't even remember. I just leave them on there, forget to delete them, but I'm never going to go back to them. There's too many. I'm never going to go back to them. Okay. I'm not the kind of guy to replay a lot, unless it's a really good experience. Like, FTL might be my answer, faster than like that indie game from Subset Games, I think it is. Awesome, one of the best indie games ever made, and I think that's just lingering on my hard drive. I pick that up every now and then, so maybe that's my answer.
I think with The Witcher, I got to like one of the first major choice. I think you pick whether to side with the human Roach or whether you side with the elves, and I can't even remember what I picked, but I remember thinking this is too much emotional fucking investment for that. I think it was my first year of uni. I like started playing, and I was like, I got exams to not do. Yeah, I can't be playing video games. I got revision to not do.
That's it, to end up as doing video games for a living.
I was here.
Next question. Which game development role do you think would be the most challenging, personally? For example, 3D artist, voice actor, animator, visual designer, etc.
I think something like a programmer doing the raw coding and all that. My brain just couldn't cope with it.
It would be very challenging. I might enjoy that though, because I do like coding and like the logic-based puzzles and things. I really like that.
There is like a one right answer, which is nice about it. I think if there was one I would most like to do, I'm not very good artist at all, but I'd love to do like character art.
Yeah.
Like designing characters and stuff. Mm-hmm. Or weirdly, because I hate my voice, I'd love to do voice acting. I think that'd be cool. Because you could just do different accents.
That's
and
cool.
Shit. But
that wasn't the question, Henry. That was
my interpretation. The hard one is programmer. What I'd like to do, character art or voice acting.
I don't know. I think it all sounds pretty challenging to me.
It's all super hard.
I would think that a middle manager would be one of the hardest roles, in order to keep your boss pleased, but also motivate your staff, but not have any real creative power or anything.
Yeah, I
feel like it's always the trickiest place to be in any sort of hierarchy, is like the person with no power but still has to motivate people. Yeah, that's like
and motivating creators and artists as well, because their job's hard enough, but you telling them what to do and how to do it must be super hard, while getting yelled at by people getting paid more than you. Yeah, that would suck. Okay, where's next one? Has there been an outfit worn by a game character that you wish you owned? Now, because I love Devil May Cry, I would always love to be able to have a long red leather jacket, but I definitely couldn't pull it off. It's something that doesn't look good on real people. That's always what happens. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Look freaking dumb on a normal person though.
Yeah. I think it kind of has parallels with who would you cosplay as, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think my answer would be because it'd either be Joel or Deacon, as in Joel from Last of Us or Deacon from Days Gone. I like that kind of gritty, manly, gruff kind of dude. And I think Deacon in terms of the biker dude.
Yeah. There's a hoodie.
I've already got Charlie Hunnam's beard from Sons of Anarchy. So I think I pull that off pretty well.
I'm already eyeballing this hoodie from the Days Gone merch. It's got the thing on it, and it's styled sort of like a cut, but it's a hoodie, so it's a bit more casual. So I'm eyeballing that, and I'll get around to buying that at some point. I want Deacon's hat as well, so I like a good hat.
Next up, is there still room for the Mirror's Edge series, with Dying Light and soon Dying Light 2, offering parkour, story and more? I think the problem with Mirror's Edge was that it was only parkour.
Yeah.
Whereas with Dying Light, it's like zombies, it's story, RPG, as well as parkour as part of it. That was what put me off Mirror's Edge. It was like, right, figure out now how to jump across this area and dodge these people. It's like, is that all there is to it? There's no real progression. There's no. It doesn't really feel satisfying. Is there room for it? Maybe, because I mean, I'm not here representing all the players ever. I think if people enjoyed Mirror's Edge and they had enough sales, maybe it would be successful if they brought a new game out. But for me, nah, just
no. Yeah, Dying Light did it better because Dying Light basically stole a load of features from other games, smushed them together, and made it work really well. Like I use the example of Horizon all the time because that stole a load of ideas and concepts from other games, put them together, and it works really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, no room for Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, I get bored quickly with games that are one-dimensional, and that might be doing a disservice to Mirror's Edge. Maybe it is like two-dimensional, but in terms of gameplay, I need loads of different things to do to keep me busy. I want sometimes to go out and chill out and like listen to a story or interact with characters, and sometimes I want to go out and battle and fight and be and do something exciting, entertaining, adventurous or whatever. And sometimes I want to try and figure out a strategic situation. Or give me everything of that to do, the whole gamut of gameplay, and I'm fucking happy. Just give me one thing like jumping across holes and shit. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Jumping and sliding, is this it? Oh, you duck as well. Oh shit, forgot about the ducking.
Well, every FPS has sliding now.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, next one. You invite 2 game characters, one male, one female, over for dinner with the significant other / family. Who would you pick? What would you serve? And would there be any entertainment? My instinctive response was, again, going back to Devil May Cry, I'd love to have Dante over because we just have pizza. He's a big pizza eater, but he's a massive slut and would totally flirt with my my girlfriend and steal her away.
Yeah.
I'd like to hang out with someone like Joel from Last of Us just to hear his like stories, but I don't think for dinner. That's one-on-one in a bar on like on a miserable Thursday afternoon.
John Marston, Arthur Morgan.
Yeah, Morgan, he'd be a good drinking
Pretty good. Yeah, a couple of them. I would serve steak because steak is the best food, full stop. And I just bought a new barbecue and it's fucking awesome. It's the best barbecue ever. It cooks them perfectly. Oh my God.
Well, there you go.
Well, in case you were in any doubt.
If I had to have a female
would
over...
there be any entertainment?
Entertainment, I don't know. Probably not video games.
Would like if it was Arthur Morgan and James Marston, right? It'd be like a shooting gallery. So with
James Marston.
He's
an actor. John Marston.
James Marston.
He's in the Sonic movie.
Why did I say that? Line up some bottles and do some
Tin Can Alley. Yeah, there you go.
And they'd be like owning me with their dad eye skills and all that. But there we go. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. What do I do with Dante? I don't know. Well, he's really lazy.
Have a threesome with your missus.
I mean, if he can bring Trish or Lady, then I'll be like, okay, you and her will go in the other room, and me and these 2 other chicks will go. Okay. Or if I had to invite a woman, I'd invite Lara Croft because I reckon she's got some really interesting stories about like archaeology and shit.
Aloy.
Aloy would be cool.
She'd be really cool. I like Aloy.
I like how she just wouldn't put up with any shit. If you served her bad food, she'd just be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like,
there you go. Thanks for your questions. I think that is it from Metal. Oh, there's one. Is there one more? There's an extra one.
This is his tag on to number 7. So the people Shark would invite over for dinner. We'd have Commander Keen, which it's a pretty good choice, but isn't he like 14? I don't know how much of an interesting night you could have. Red from Transistor, not familiar with who that is. Mm-hmm. Over to help yourself for heaters and a game of fun employed. Help yourself for heaters. I mean, that's a great fucking shout. I love for heaters. Had them last night. Really good at them. It's the only thing I can cook, really.
They are very good. So thanks for your questions, Metal Shark. Let's move on. DK Collie. Sorry, I've not been about the last couple of weeks of weeks, guys. I've had a lot on. I'm sorry, there's just no excuse. What is
dropped the ball, Collie?
How dare you have a personal life? This is pretty good gaming we're talking about here, dude. Life stops for pretty good gaming. You should get your priorities straight, for God's sake. Anyway, on that note, that said, I will pay you back in the full... Oh, okay, I forgive you. You're going to pay us back. Another of your favourite weekly questions. Shag, marry, kill. To be honest, we didn't miss you because other people were offering.
Cloney stepped up.
Yeah, we had various people.
He does go on to thank him in a bit.
We didn't even miss you anyway, DK Coley. So stick that.
Better off without you.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. This week's theme is video game II. Here are the options: Cortana from Halo, Edie from Mass Effect fame, and Alpha 152 from Dead or Alive. That's tricky because they are not human. I mean, you tried to get me to answer 3 blokes the other week, which I couldn't do. Where do you start with shagging any of these? Because to my mind, none of them have vaginas.
Well, yeah. I mean, Cortana, she's not even physical. She's like a hologram. Like she's not. You can't, not really like tangible. She's weird. But then she's probably the most. Well, she's the one I know the best. But she's the most like effeminate, I suppose.
Technically, killing is not correct because they're not alive to begin with. So you can't kill them. You can't shag them.
They don't have the necessary parts.
And would you stick anything in a mechanical creature like that if there was a hole in order to do that, and trust that it wouldn't clamp down and sever your manhood? I wouldn't trust that. So I wouldn't do any of them with either of them. And then so I guess I'd marry all 3 of them. I would marry all 3 of them because it's the safer option
for your bits and bobs. I mean, that probably is the smart one to do, but I mean, I don't know anything about this Alpha 152, so
she looks green.
Yeah, well, if we can't kill, we'll terminate. We'll to take the batteries out and throw them down the road.
Yeah,
shag. I mean, the EDI from Mass Effect, she's physical, so you could probably give her a false vagina, get a fleshlight and plug it in.
Just use the flashlight. She's superfluous.
Well, that's true, but maybe I want to be spooned afterwards. I want to be held.
That's true. That's a good point.
Cortana, she's the one I know the best, so I'm more than likely to marry her, but she's crazy.
Yeah.
She's destabilized now and is taking over the universe. It's weird. Which is where Halo 5 actually started getting good and it ended.
Okay, so our answers suck. So
yeah, this was a weird one, dude.
DK Collie has the better answer here. Mine would be shag Edie because bionic booty. Marry Cortana as she's supportive and naked. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, having your spouse naked is
always a win.
There you go. Finally, I'd kill Alpha as I hate Dead or Alive. Lol. solid answer there. We couldn't beat them.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm glad you're back because you can tell us the correct answers.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. DK Collie. And I think this is the same. Yeah,
there's another question here. So, if you could port any PC game to the Nintendo Switch, what would it be? I would port The Isle as playing in a giant online world as a dinosaur while on the go just seems perfect to me. That does sound pretty good. I've not played The Isle, but running around as a dinosaur, that's pretty dope. My instinct would be XCOM because I played it recently on PS4 and I'd love to play that on the go.
Yeah.
XCOM Enemy Unknown, I think it was. XCOM 2.
There's just so many games. Just give me a decent RPG. I'm always searching on the Nintendo store for decent RPGs with decent progression. Skyrim I've kind of played already, and I recently rebought and haven't really got into it because I've just been busy. But I think just any, I don't know, just...
I'd quite like a big strategy game, actually, like a Total War, because obviously, as I've said before, I'm not a PC player, but because I don't have one. But if I had a Switch, then I could get into... Obviously, it has to be massively scaled down.
Oh, yeah. I think... I don't know... I don't like a Fallout or something would do. Fallout New Vegas would do. Fallout New Vegas would be... I mean, I've said it before. I think it would be perfect for the system because it wouldn't need the high-end machines or hardware that obviously Nintendo Switch doesn't have anyway. The strategy games would be, scaling them down, and with the interface. I don't know, City Skylines works really well with the controls.
The Switch has touch as well, which it doesn't really utilise much. But I think the Switch is doing really well for porting older games now. Yeah, because I think later this month, Resident Evil 0, 1 and 4 I think are coming into it, and Devil May Cry just came out for it.
Dragon's Dogma was on.
Yeah, Dragon's Dogma's on there now.
I've got to check that out too. So there you go. There's plenty of options. There's just too many options, which is what the beauty of the Nintendo Switch is. But if you upgrade the hardware on the Nintendo Switch and give me the same form factor with a chunkier insides, I take all AAA games on Nintendo Switch, and I just like play it on the go, or if I'm at home, I'll just stick it in the port or whatever. So thanks for your questions there, Mr. DK Collie. Moving on. Jason Jackson at Henry. Hi, Henry. Do you think as gaming becomes more games as a service-based companies will try to sell consoles like mobile phone contracts?
I reckon they probably will.
This is something that we've kind of said in the past.
We're sort of halfway there now with iterative consoles, because you get the PS4, then there's the PS4 Slim, and now there's the PS4 Pro, and then you'll finally get the proper one with PS4 5.
Well, there are rumours that the next Microsoft console, one of them will have no hard drive whatsoever, and it would make 100% sense because they've got the Games Pass thing now, subscription service, which is something, £12 a month or whatever it is. It would make sense to bolt on an added, X amount of money, maybe double the price or something, to have hardware of your own as part of that. So it makes sense, right? So not only for maybe £25 a month, not only do you get the games and access to all the games on the Games Pass, you get your hardware to play on it too. Yeah. So it eliminates the barrier of having that lump sum in order to get into the rung of the ladder, as it were, in order to access games. I think they should be looking at that at the very least, because subscriptions are where they're looking for stability in their income in the future. I think if Xbox and Microsoft have not considered this, then they're overlooking huge potential here.
As an option, I think, as well for players, because often when a new way of doing things comes along, people are often like, that's not how I want to do it, I'm not doing it. But it's the same with streaming as an option, because I'll still buy my whole console or whatever, but if people want to buy it in like a contract way where you pay monthly, that's an option that I think is a good idea.
Giving people options, I guess. And very lastly, same commenter again, Jason Jackson. Do you think these premium and non-premium based next-gen consoles will be enough to attract enough sales, considering they are rumoured to be £400 plus? Will it be enough to attract enough sales? 100%. 100%. I think everyone is craving the next generation, like updated hardware, updated everything. As soon as it launches, I think this next generation is so anticipated now. I think the industry is in a place where it's never been before. It's so much more popular now. It's growing year on year. You've got all these added elements in the industry now with streamers and let's players and everyone who's raising attention to all these new devices, all these new games. Everything gets a lot more exposure day one than they used to, and it takes longer to get the word out in terms of what's good and what's bad. As soon as a console hits for the next generation and the performance is multiple times better, that in itself will get enough people excited on social media and on YouTube and wherever, Reddit or whatever, that the thing will just spread like wildfire and they will sell themselves. And I think that they've been crying out for new hardware for so long. Games are being held back by the old hardware that's in consoles now. I think everyone will breathe a sigh of relief when eventually they bring out these next generation of consoles, me being one of them, because I want games to get better and they are currently being harnessed.
My biggest reservation is seeing that £400 price point. I'm just like, just fucking dropping that money in one go. Especially because in PC gaming, the only reason I don't do it is because it's too expensive for me to justify right now, and to iterate on new parts every so often and whatnot. So even the £400 thing, that's like a lump in my throat.
It's a bit of a
I can do it, but it's going to be.
I mean, if you're a PC gamer, that's nothing, right? I mean, you're talking at least £800 for a middle of the range system that plays semi decently all the newest games. Maybe even double that if you want to have the top high end. Anything under 800, you're talking 600 or less, you're talking bottom of the spec for PC. So for them to bring out consoles that are supposedly going to have X amount of terafloppage or whatever for £400. As a PC gamer, it seems like, that seems reasonable to me. But I'm not seeing it from a perspective of a console gamer who, it might be a huge, especially youngsters who might not have disposable income.
Yeah.
It might be a huge barrier for a lot of people that I'm not considering, though.
I think I got my Xbox 360 a little after launch. I got my PS4 a little after launch. But obviously, with this job, I'm probably going to get whatever one, Xbox or Xbox or PlayStation, depends on which one's just better. I'll probably end up getting one pretty soon, like as launch. I mean, who knows if I'll pre-order or whatever, but
yeah,
Yeah,
I will I mean, it's different for me now, working on PGG. I mean, it's part of the job now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We really couldn't do our job unless we had the hardware. The newest hardware. We would be
rebrand as a retro channel and do we only do PS4.
That's it. But yeah, we would have to make that sacrifice. Maybe have to get some more sponsors in and stuff, and talk about things that maybe we don't want to talk about, but they pay money. So anyway, that is it for the questions from Discord. Like I said, if you want to ask question for the next podcast, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, and for as little as $1 you can get access to the Discord, and then you can ask your own questions. Let's move on to the YouTube comment section. Now, you've probably read a few comments this week, right?
Well, I've read a handful.
So we're going to have a look for some. We haven't prepared this section because we are awesome and like that, and we're just going to wing it, and hopefully you don't get too
feel
bored.
like winging it works better sometimes, Right, when was the last time we did this?
Last time we winged it?
Well, we wing it every day.
I mean, that's a job, essentially, isn't it? Winging shit.
Let's have a look. Have you got any ready to go?
I don't have any ready to go.
Oh, not even one. We'll just fill this dead air
with bullshit.
I mean, that's what we do most of the time anyway. Okay, so
they listen to our drivel most of the time. I mean, they can endure another couple of minutes.
Just put up with it.
Yeah, so we'll just carry on like this.
Okay, I've got one here, and it's on a Plague Tale video which came out quite recently. It's from Han with 2 N's. Finally, a good game to play with no association with the Epic Store, time exclusive. Now I read that and I'm like, yes, it's not an Epic Store exclusive. That's great. Everyone can play it. Lovely, lovely. But I mean, that's a bit sensationalist. Rage came out on the same day, and that's not Epic exclusive.
Yeah.
Other good games, Mortal Kombat, not Epic exclusive. Yeah. Very different genre, but I mean, it could be your thing. Yeah. Days Gone, it's a PlayStation exclusive, but it's not an Epic exclusive. So
yeah, it's it just becomes a bit of an opportunity to take another dig at Epic Store, even though it's not related. This isn't Epic Store news. It's like, this is just a game. This is an opportunity for me to fight the cause again. Down with Epic.
And it got 11 likes, so people were supporting it. I'm like, oh, come on. You're picking a fight where you don't need to. Everyone knows you hate the Epic Store. It's fine.
Okay, on our Rage video this week, user Beech Horn, who is incidentally Metal Shark, says...
it's Beech Horn with 2 E's. Make sure you get that right, because I've got that wrong before. You won't be having EA in his name, which I do think is hilarious.
He said, what game are we talking about again? Quoting me, when I was talking about Rage.
Yeah,
I
don't know.
Lol,
legitimately
lol,
forgot
who even are you?
that was funny.
I had a bit of a brain dump at that moment. But that's what happens when you're trying to talk for a living and you're not good at talking. So...
I mean, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
I've just clocked one here that I hadn't read before, and it's kind of bizarre. Again, it's on a Plague Tale review from Aaron Kotka. I like my girls to shoot sparkles like Captain Marvel. What? No sparkles? And I'm like, what's the deal? I mean, you play as a girl in this game. I mean,
no sparkles.
Is this a dig at Captain Marvel and all the feminist nonsense that she's been spouting and all that kind of I don't know. I don't know what to read that. It's kind of like that Epic one where it's just a chance to shit on Captain Marvel.
Yeah, just a chance to push your own agenda, right?
Yeah, I mean, have you seen Captain Marvel? It's not an amazing movie, but it's all right. It's nowhere near as pushy with its agenda as you seem to be, sir.
Yeah, that's where the internet has resorted to now. It's just a battleground in order to look for every opportunity to push your own stupid agendas. And Luke Gibbs, I've got one here. Luke Gibbs says on the Rage 2 video again, I'd like to see how many Red Dead 2 fanboys I can trigger with that sentence. Another quote by me again. And he says, none. No one is paying it. And that is funny, actually, because not a single person. Yeah. I said, what I like... a shitty terrain traversal system, referring to the shitty, like, having to go everywhere on horseback, which takes fucking ages. I said the bad shooting and the cumbersome movement or whatever. Not a single bite. I'm fucking disappointed. Not a single bite.
That was some quality bait.
And if I'd have said that around launch, oh my God, I'd have been lynched. I'd have been totally lynched. It's like the honeymoon period of when you release a game, isn't it? You can't say anything bad about a huge game or you'll get actually totally shot down. But a few minutes later, nobody gives a flying fuck.
So I've got one here from the Rage 2 one, which I'm glad someone picked up on, from Cloney, patron, good lad. Congratulations on saying behemoth right, Gaz, because you got it.
Behemoth.
Is that little pause right there?
Yeah.
Not a behemoth or behemoth.
Well, there was one guy, if I can find this comment now, which kind of stuck up for me and was telling me, let me see if I can find it. Let's fill this dead air with some behemoth. Yeah, there's some guy basically saying, Gareth, you must stop Henry. This is it. From Howie X. Gareth, you must stop letting Henry get away with this behemoth bullshit. You were right the first time. Behemoth. Any day of the week. Are you going to trust Jonathan Pierce or Henry Cooper? I like Henry, but come on.
Who's Jonathan Pierce? And is he... Wait, Behemoth. Behemoth.
Behemoth.
Right, I mean, I'm really thrown off now.
Behemoth.
Behemoth.
Jonathan Pierce.
Who's Jonathan Pierce? I mean, now it's a band. I don't care about a band called...
English football commentator.
A football commentator.
I mean,
they are good at filling dead air. Okay, here we go. We've got a phonetic description.
Don't give me that bullshit. You know what I'm talking about.
That's a he. That's a he. Yeah, there. Okay, you probably can't see it on there. I'll try and get it to play the word. Oh fuck! It's just telling me. It
doesn't matter how it's.
I can read that, and that's a he.
So long as you know what I'm on about.
Because it's like a lowercase I and sort of a colon, but it's not right. So that's an e, and then it elongates it. So it's a he. I've got a degree in English language, so I will tell you how to fucking say it.
Oh, like that is it? Like that is it? You bring in your diploma to the argument. God,
degree. I am a highly educated and still not very intelligent individual. I've pissed away so much money on being stupid.
Bringing your education into the forefront, bringing a pistol to a knife duel. This is
my education and my white male privilege.
Well, you haven't checked that. This is PC. This is a PC podcast, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty crap.
Yeah, we went wrong with what PC meant. That's the problem.
God. Let's find another fucking.
This is a pretty crap podcast. Not politically correct in the slightest.
I've just got this one. This one's quite funny. This is on our podcast from last week, and in case you didn't watch it, the video wasn't working because we had a power outage because they were doing something with it. I don't know.
Nobody paid the bills, and we didn't have enough subscriptions on Patreon to pay the bill, right?
Plug.
So if only we had more supporters on Patreon, we could pay the electricity bill. Now, luckily, they let us off halfway through, and the lights came back on. But we're literally struggling to keep the lights on, guys. That is not even an exaggeration.
Yeah, well, there you go. So to make it more visually appealing, I put it together with like a freeze frame of us smiling quite nicely. It was quite a pleasant picture with like the video on normally, but then there was like a filter where it looks all old-timey and old-filmy. And this person, Brian Mohammed, y'all made me think that my video wasn't working properly, which I hadn't seen that one before. That's pretty funny. Yeah, man.
I mean, you had to listen to like 20 seconds of the podcast until I explained what was happening. But obviously he didn't get that far.
Obviously
before making his comment.
I mean, who even watches a video all the way through before commenting? Like, come on.
I mean, hardly anyone if you take our comments as evidence.
So I feel like we need to put as many like bait comments in at the very beginning and get everyone riled up.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, it works.
It does.
Works. So there you go, I guess.
Have you got any more?
I'm expended. I'm done now, dude.
Yeah, I've got. I could go hunt for more, but I
think we've.
Oh, hold on there. Linking immediately back to what you just said from the cryocorn. You need more people on Patreon to keep the lights on. See, he knows.
So that's
good job.
That's maybe where I got my inspiration for that little thing.
Well, there we go.
There we go. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to the podcast this week. And lo and behold, we did keep the lights on. But if you do want to support us, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgame. I'm plugging it very often because we really do need your support. Because, without your help, we could not keep the lights on.
We're currently pedaling under the table to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
We've got a little generator hooked up.
There we go. So, thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And any comments, leave them down in the comment section. We will see you again in podcast number 18, which will be next week. And until then, from Henry and I, bye for now.